What about jQuery? How does that fit into the equation here?
Well, jQuery is really interesting because, well, for a little bit of background, the jQuery is a client-side JavaScript library. Become very popular. It's open source, and so Microsoft is now pulling that in and supporting that, and it's actually going to ship, as I understand it, with Visual Studio 2010.
Right.
And what also is interesting about that is that Microsoft is not taking that and embracing it and expanding it or doing differences with it. It's not forking the development of jQuery at all.
Not creating a Microsoft jQuery.
Correct. Right, which is really nice because that's now it stays standard.
Yeah.
But what that does is that brings a lot of other features to the client-side development for these rich internet type of applications that do animations. There's a rich add-in support for add-ins, and so you can write your own extensions and share them with other people. And there's a little bit of overlap with the Ajax library that Microsoft is supplying, but for the most part, it's completely different and adds some additional functionality to it. And one of the biggest benefits of it is that with jQuery, you can get access to sets of elements on the page, which dramatically simplifies working with the DOM, the document object model. So you can get access to these sets of components on the page, and there's all kinds of searching syntax for it, and then apply different properties to it, change the class on it, animate different things, and you can also string them all together. So it's very efficient code. It makes it much easier to write JavaScript code.
Right, and I think that's fascinating that we've sort of, ASP.NET really started out hiding the Ajax from us. And now, bit by bit, we're getting it revealed to take advantage of it, but also protecting ourselves from the ugly bits of JavaScript, which is, I think, largely the DOM, protecting us from the DOM.
Right. Yeah, you used to have to write these real complicated dot notations to get access to different things.
And all that. But if you're running IE6, do it this way. And if you're running a Firefox 2, do it this way. And they got arduous.
And in fact, that's a big benefit of both the Ajax library, Microsoft's Ajax library, and jQuery, is that it encapsulates those browser incompatibilities so dramatically.
But actually, I like the fact that it encapsulates it on the client. So we're still doing proper client execution as the way that, compared to the way that the original ASP.NET approach did it, where the control definitely encapsulates all that, but you're doing this very server-centric way of working.
And you can use it in conjunction with the server-side ASP.NET stuff, but that's what's really dramatic in some of the examples that Stephen Walther talked about in his session, and I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the week. When I do Ajax 4.0, is that a lot of the samples are .htm or HTML files.
Wow.
They're not even .aspx files, because it really is client-side stuff.
The client
going on.
page, the JavaScript's running in there, and you're just making calls to these data services to pull your data sets down. So suddenly the ASPX page isn't necessary.
Entirely the browser that's communicating.
That's awesome.
Which is both good and has its downsides.
It definitely has complication here and there, but it's interesting to think that we've come this far.
Yeah, kind of full circle, which is really intriguing. And two, it really shows the power of JavaScript, because JavaScript really hasn't revved in a long time. There's work to do it, but it's really a pretty powerful language.
Yeah, when it's properly contained and managed, things get pretty easy that way.
But another downside too is that one of the things I hated about classic or moldy or archaic ASP, whatever you refer to it, is that you had this really nasty interspersion of code, like VBScript or JavaScript on the server with HTML, and you were doing loops and that kind of stuff. And we got away with that with ASP.NET, but now we're kind of coming back to it. And
what did we used to call it? We used to call it write-only code.
Yeah,
right.
That's
you
right.
can write it, but you can never read it again, because it's that tangle of. And now we run a little line of code, and then there's some HTML, and then a line of code, and well, it was better than writing a response right through the whole thing.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I'm a little bit chagrined that I have a client, a great client, wonderful people and all, but their main site is still ASP. Wow. And I cannot believe it's 2009 and I'm still writing VBScript. It just blows my mind. It blows me away that it's still supported in Windows.
Yes. It's still a feature you can install in IIS 7.
It's fully supported, and so it's, oh well.
Wow, you could have been writing PHP.
I could have been, yes. But it's really exciting times. It really gets into the thing that there's so many technologies, and of course we haven't even talked about Silverlight and stuff, which I really haven't gotten into at all.
Well, I like just briefly going at it, this whole fact that the data services side is the same, whether we're working with Ajax or we're working with Silverlight. The ability to have client-side rendering, whether you want to do it in .NET or you want to do it in JavaScript, it's up to you. It's fascinating stuff.
Yeah. So really rich clients. It's the new thing, and it's a pretty exciting world right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So are we going to see the Iditarod one of these days?
No, we're sprint mushers, and actually Carol and I the last couple of years haven't been mushing all that much.
Oh, yeah.
We've been ski joring our brains out.
Ski what?
Ski joring.
Ski joring.
I'm on skis, I'm skate skiing, and I'm attached to 1 to 4 dogs.
Okay.
Yeah, which is really exciting because
no
the
sled.
No sled in between us. You can't have a polk, what's called a polk, which is a small sled. We typically don't do that. But 1 to 4 dogs that are maniacs about pulling, and I'm working hard behind them skiing, which is just amazing fun. So that's what we do all winter.
That's what you do. Are you going somewhere, or are you just going around in circles?
Oh, no. We have another nice thing about Fairbanks being such a doggy mushing sort of place is that we have wonderful trail systems.
Okay.
And so we the places we can go for 100 miles if we wanted to. Yeah.
As long as you don't freeze to death or get eaten by a grizzly, everything's fine.
Right. Which is another nice thing about ski joring. I'm actually working, so I'm working up a sweat.
Yeah.
So we go when it's pretty cold. Yeah. It's a good life.
Don, thanks so much for coming to talk to us.
Oh, thanks for having me.